Henry was having some technical issues with OBS this week. Normally, both of us are visible on the screen at the same time the whole time, but it may be just one of us at a time. There may have been some parts that were re-recorded or something like that. So basically, just be patient with us if you notice things are a little bit different this week than usual. But thank you guys for bearing with us, and hopefully we'll be back to normal next time. Are there any privacy laws that would make us expats? Our opinions on a wide variety of privacy and security tools, as well as why Nate, that's me, doesn't keep email on his phone. Welcome to the Surveillance Report Q&A, where we answer questions from our amazing patrons who allow us to make this podcast for all of you. If you would like to be one of said amazing patrons and ask us a question, you can view and join all the questions on patreon.com/surveillancepod, and there is a link in the descriptions. So we're going to jump right in. Our first question comes from Lady Lucifer, who says, are there any invasive privacy or security related laws or legislation that have been proposed or are in effect in other countries where if they were brought to the USA, you would seriously consider leaving? On the flip side, if a country offered robust security or privacy protective legislation, is that something you would consider immigrating for? And just in case anybody's not familiar with the term expats that I used earlier, that's short for expatriate. And I don't think it's exclusive to the US, but it just basically means somebody who's emigrated to another country. So personally, I would say I do want to leave the country someday for a lot of reasons. I don't want to get too political here. There are way worse places than America. I will be the first to admit that. There's also way better places than America. And again, not to be too political, but I really think the people who are like, no, we're the greatest country on earth, no criticism. Like, I really think you're holding us back from becoming the best version of ourselves as a country. But yeah, I do want to leave the country for a lot of reasons. Privacy is not a major driver, but I'm not going to lie, it is something that is on my radar. My wife and I have talked about Nordic countries. Finland is one that we were both kind of like, yeah, I'd be interested in checking that out. I'd really like to check out Iceland. And those are both countries that have very strong privacy laws, but they're also countries that I think are just seem really interesting, and I would like to explore them and see if we would like living there. Germany's a country that's not off the map, and they're part of, 9 or 14 eyes, something like that. They're a surveillance country, but they also have really good privacy laws, and I would be interested in that possibly. Or my wife would really like to visit Japan. We don't think we'd like to live there, but we would like to visit, and maybe we'll fall in love with it. I don't know. So I'm going to be really crass for a minute, and I apologize. It's the difference between a one-night stand and an actual relationship. Privacy is really sexy, but there's a lot more that goes into it when you're talking about a long-term relationship. That's kind of how I look at it. Like, it's definitely something that's in the back of my mind, but there's so many other things that are important, like job opportunities, language barriers, cultural barriers, economic opportunities, political stability. There are so many other things before I get down to that personally. So that's how I feel.
Unless it was a drastically bad situation, I don't think I would leave or go to a country purely on the basis of privacy regulation. However, I think that I'm so used to talking about companies. Countries that have strong privacy regulation tend to also have other values I respect. So I think it goes along with other things that I'm looking for. So no, it's not the single thing that I'm going to be prioritizing. But again, countries that are taking a look at security, taking a look at privacy, and they know what they're talking about are I keep saying companies, are countries that...
I mean, these days they're basically the same thing.
Are typically going to be a little bit more tech forward. They're going to understand the digital landscape a little bit better. They understand why it's important, and they understand why keeping people safe and giving them their rights is also important. So there's a lot of things that go along with being a privacy-friendly country that it has nothing to do with privacy, per se. It's just kind of everything that revolves around it.
I'm also going to go ahead and take the next question from Lady Lucifer because it's aimed specifically at me. Also, Nate, you mentioned you don't have email on your phone. Are you able to expand on that? Is it to protect the contents of your email from your phone, or are you protecting your phone from your email? I'm protecting my sanity from too many notifications. Truthfully, that is the main driver. You know, we talk a lot about minimalism, especially here in the Q&A. Like, it's definitely a security thing. You know, if somebody steals my phone, God forbid, I hope I don't know how they would unless it was a targeted attack with Celebrite. But like, if somebody stole my phone and got into it, I want them to have as little access as possible. And also, the more apps I have on my phone, the more like one of them could have a malicious SDK. They could be collecting data. Like, these are all valid concerns. But for me, it's also just like protecting my sanity. Like, I already have Signal on my phone, which I use for both personal and the new oil. So I get a lot of especially like yesterday when like CrowdStrike was happening and, you know, people are sending me stories and stuff. I don't have Mastodon on my phone. I don't have email on my phone, personal or otherwise. I don't even have Matrix on my phone right now. I don't have Discord on my phone. Like, these are all things that I use pretty frequently. to me, they're not important. If it's important, people know how to reach me, usually via Signal, or I do have my FUTO. So either they have a Signal contact or they have like a phone number where they can text me. That's the main reason I do it. It's not urgent. It's not that it's not important. It's not urgent. It can wait. Our next question comes from B. Hi there, new patron here. Thank you for joining. I am wondering if you would be opposed to talking a little bit about the FUTO keyboard and that company. I like their claims, but I can't read code, so I don't know how to vet a group like them for their keyboard or their Photos app, etc. Love to hear your thoughts, and thank you either way. I've been a follower on YouTube for years. So first of all, again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for following us. I don't know much about FUTO. I know, for those who don't know, that's Louis Rossman's company, and he's a really big advocate of mostly right to repair. But as an extension of that, there's a lot of like privacy and open source and stuff like that. So yeah, I haven't personally checked out the FUTO keyboard, but I will say from what I can tell, Rossman seems very reputable, and I don't know about his technical capability, but I would assume if he's got a whole company, he can hire people with the technical understanding if he doesn't have it himself. He seems like he's really trying to do a good thing in the world. So personally, I would trust it just on that merit alone. But I would definitely go see if there's any other experts talking about what it's saying or what they're saying, any of their opinions, what kind of issues are being reported on GitHub, stuff like that. So, but yeah, as far as like opinions of it, I don't really have any. I know Henry looked it up a little bit before we started recording, so I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, I've seen some people talk about it on our forum, but I guess all I could give you is how I would look at it and my personal take. I went on the website. First off, it's completely offline. And you can even take that to the next level by disabling things like if you're using a ROM that allows you to disable internet connectivity for app by app on a per app basis. You could even take that to the next level. I've really struggled to find a nice keyboard from F-Droid, and especially one that has swipe to text and like a nice autocorrect and predictive typing and things like that. And this actually does all of that. And it's open source. And again, it's offline. And really the big thing, especially people with accessibility needs, is that it has offline voice input. A lot of the voice input keyboards rely on you needing to send data for them to do server processing of the data. So it seems really cool on paper. The only thing that would really be holding me back is it's actually an alpha. So it's not even a beta, it's not public release, it's in alpha. So that's probably a huge reason why I wouldn't just go around recommending this to everybody. But I think it's a really cool project and there's no harm in trying it out. And in regards to like at least having some basic people look at it, it is on F-Droid. F-Droid, it's not foolproof, but they at least do go through the apps and make sure there's nothing super clearly wrong there. It's also on the Play Store, so that's both Google and the F-Droid developers that at least cleared the alpha to be on their app stores, which is a very, very basic level of trust obtained. It's not just an APK on a GitHub repo. You can get that as well, but those are my thoughts. So I wouldn't probably daily drive it, but I'd feel comfortable enough testing it out. And if I really loved it, I might make an exception. But again, it's not a stable keyboard.
And our last question comes from David Johnson, which is kind of a series of questions. What do you guys think about the privacy and security of the following tools and services if you or people you know in the community have used them? Listing several in one question, since some of these may not be too familiar to you, and thus there may not be much to say in response. So we actually have not heard of any of these specifically, and Henry had the idea of, we're going to go ahead and look them up live right now and see what we've got. So the first one is called That's My Face. And it is a counterpart for Delete Me or Incogni, but it's for your photos and especially deepfakes. Let's see. That's myface.com, I think.
Yeah, there's a demo, but it requires me to give them my email. You have to reach out to their sales team.
That makes sense, because honestly, the first result that came up for me was Crunchbase, which is for listeners, it gives information about businesses, like where they're based and how much money they've raised and how long they've been around. It's kind of like a investor thing.
Yeah, it's not something for end users.
Yeah, I see that. We use detection ML and facial recognition to defend your brand and people against misuse. I mean, yeah, maybe like somebody big.
Electo AI seems to be a little bit more aimed at end users, but they only have a public beta test. So, and the site's honestly really bizarre. So it might work, but at least it doesn't seem super presentable / usable right now. Those are just my initial impressions. Again, these are just us just quickly pulling this up as we're talking. We've never seen these projects before, but I'd be really hesitant to utilize these right now.
Hold on, I didn't look up Electo. Okay, electoai.com. Okay, that one's an app. Yeah, that one, I agree. That one looks a little bit more consumer-based, maybe. I don't know. So this is a concern for me recently. We were talking about that before we started recording, is like, the only facial recognition service I found that in my opinion is worth half a crap is PimEyes. And they do have an opt-out section where they will remove you and basically make it so people can't search you, which is kind of a double-edged sword because on the one hand, PimEyes, at least the way they market themselves, is like, oh, you can use it to know when new pictures of you pop up and you can decide if you want to contact the website to have them removed, which seems fair. But on the other hand, it's also like, I don't want to just, especially as a public figure, I don't want anyone to just upload my face and find like, all these pictures of like me at my in-laws wedding or something like that. It's like, I don't want you to know. I don't want to use that example because that's actually one that's there. Like, I don't want you to find these pictures of like me at a concert or me at at a family gathering that was posted somewhere. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where you kind of have to pick between two crappy options. You can either leave it up or opt out, but either way, I know they may be first to market. They're probably not, but they may be first to market, but they're probably not going to be the only one for long. So it's definitely interesting to hear about these tools and know that they're there. Personally, I'm not so much worried about deepfakes. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are for very valid reasons, but it's good to know that tools like these are starting to pop up because I do think that is quickly becoming a valid concern of like being able to remove your photos the same way you can remove your public data. So I just wanted to say that. So what was the next one? Mail store. All right, so let me see here. Manage, retain, and retrieve your emails in a long time. So this is another one that this looks like it's aimed at businesses. They're talking about like compliance, avoid data loss, take the load off the server.
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious. So I would only need a dedicated email archiving tool if I was hosting my own data. Otherwise, I don't know how this is different from doing like a monthly, like I'm not recommending this, but let's say you're using Gmail, doing a monthly Google takeout of all your data. I don't see how that's different from a dedicated tool like this. No?
Yeah, I don't know. They talk about like POP and IMAP and stuff. So I got to be honest, I don't see the point of this. Like, I'm sure there's a point for someone somewhere, but for me, it's like,
It's for businesses.
I guess, because as an individual, like I just use Thunderbird and, I make sure I fire it up at least once or twice a week and download whatever emails. And now I have an offline copy. I don't need all this like compliance and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it says here, what is email archiving? In the last sentence of the FAQ, email archiving is regarded as part of your IT strategy to ensure business continuity and data governance. This is all very business-oriented stuff. It's the kind of stuff that I had to learn for like ISC2 certification. It's like, yeah, ensure business continuity, the triad and all this kind of stuff. I think that it's really not for end users. And again, if you're an end user, your options are to like do data exports, which are a pretty common thing now. Most things allow you to export all your data. Otherwise, if you're using a third-party tool like Nate is using, like Thunderbird, or even if you're using something like Apple Mail, you can pretty much download all, if not most, of your emails for offline usage. Even if you lose all power, you still have access to them.
The next one's called Mesh, or Mesh Central, I think. I found a GitHub thing here. I don't know if that's the right thing. Yeah, a complete web-based remote monitoring and management website. Once you install agents and perform a remote desktop session. So I do have rare situations where something like this would come in handy, but overall, I just don't have a need for it. I like that this thing is open source, and it looks like the last update was May. So, it's reasonably updated. Oh, wow, it has two-factor, how to set up with an Nginx proxy, works on Windows, Mac, and Linux.
It has a lot of eyes on it on GitHub. It has almost 100 contributors. So at least a lot of people have looked over the source code, which is really nice.
515 forks, almost 4,000 stars. Yeah. Yeah, I think it looks great. I just don't really have much of a use for it.
I will say there's like their old archive site. And then it says the main information website is now here, but it takes you to a 404.
Oh, yeah. It's taken me to an HTTP warning.
Well, okay, so it takes you to a 404 on my end, but then I remove the /info. So I just make it the actual root domain, just meshcentral.com. And I will say, if I just saw this website, I'd be concerned. But things on GitHub look quite a bit better. This is something that's definitely more technical. I don't think that most people just are going to be stumbling on this wanting to use it, is my guess. But I think for the people who need to use this, they can use it. Also, they have a whole YouTube channel with a very active host.
Okay, and the last one is Spybot Anti-Beacon for Windows Telemetry. All right, let's see here. Well, first of all, it costs money.
What is this? It's a privacy protection tool which offers the highest level of protection. It's an spy bot.
It's as easy as Spybot. Get it? It's as easy as pie.
I don't even know what it does.
It reduces telemetry. Here, if you scroll down, it has the immunizers. It tells you.
But is this like a DNS tool?
I think it's kind of like Portmaster from the look of it.
Okay, so it's okay.
How much does it cost? I don't actually see money. Oh, it's $12. Is that a year or is that?
I don't like it. Just don't. Okay. Go to products and just click products on the top, and it shows you all the features of the different stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So they have things like anti-spyware, antivirus, anti-beacon. I don't know what beacon is. It's probably something they have. Immunization,
startup tools, scans. Yeah, automatic signature updates.
It seems like it's like an anti-malware tool with just extra fluff around it. Like it has a file shredder and like file analyzer and things like that. System registry repair. Let me put it this way. If I was using Windows, I would not want to install this tool.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem terrible, but I feel like there's better tools out there, like Portmaster. In terms of like spy stuff, telemetry, Portmaster is really good. It hasn't been updated in a while, which is starting to bug me, but the Windows Spy Blocker script is one I recommend. W11 Privacy, I think, is open source, or W10 Privacy. It works on Windows 11 and 10. I'm pretty sure it's open source, and it seems to do really well. I have a few different recommendations on the New Oil site under the desktop section for some tools to help make Windows a little bit less noisy.
Also for anti-malware, Windows Defender is really hard to beat. So
I mean, it can be beat, but for most people, you just don't need more than that.
Hard to beat from like a value and overall just recommendation perspective. Portmaster plus, a Windows tool that removes some of the tracking plus Windows Defender should be good for most people, and some common sense.
And then if you do want to go the extra mile, most of the VPNs we recommend have like a DNS tool that'll block a lot of like trackers, and which I mean is granted granted is more web facing, but it might still catch some of the stuff that's on your device too. That was a lot of fun. Hopefully this video is not too long. So those were all of our questions this week. Are there any privacy laws that would make us consider emigrating to specific countries? Our opinions on a wide variety of privacy and security tools. Again, really fun, as well as why I don't keep email on my phone. So thank you guys for the great questions. We really appreciate them. And hopefully all of our viewers took something away from this as well. And we also thank you guys for supporting the podcast, keeping us going. If you would like to ask us a question or just support the podcast and you're not already on Patreon, you can do that by joining the link in the description, patreon.com/surveillancepod, and feel free to join our next Q&A while you're at it. So thank you all again for the questions and for watching, and we'll see you this coming weekend with the next surveillance report.